Good evening and welcome to News, Scope Daily TV, your trusted source for in-depth global analysis, breaking international developments, and the stories shaping our world today. In a time marked by rising geopolitical tensions, political realignments, and growing social unrest, understanding global events has never been more critical. From the corridors of power in Washington and Brussels to the streets of Sydney, Santiago, Hong Kong, and Paris, the world is experiencing a series of pivotal moments that will have long-lasting consequences. Tonight, we examine how Donald Trump's renewed pressure on Europe is straining transatlantic relations and forcing European leaders to reconsider their security independence. We turn to Australia, where a shocking anti-Semitic terrorist attack has shaken the nation and reignited urgent debates on extremism and public safety. We also explore the growing divisions within the European Union as France delays the Mercosur trade agreement, frustrating key partners and raising serious questions about economic strategy and environmental responsibility. In Eastern Europe, we assess whether new diplomatic signals between Russia and Ukraine could mark the beginning of a fragile path toward negotiations, or simply another pause in a prolonged conflict. In Latin America, Chile enters a new political era with the election of José Antonio Cast, a result that signals a major shift in the country's ideological direction. In Asia, the conviction of Jimmy Lai in Hong Kong sends shockwaves through the international community, raising grave concerns about press freedom and the future of democracy in the region. And finally, we head to France, where a strike at the Louvre Museum, one of the world's most iconic cultural institutions, highlights deeper tensions over labor conditions and cultural governance. All these stories are interconnected. Together, they reveal a world at a crossroads, where power, principles, and people are being tested like never before. Stay with us. This is Newscope Daily TV, and this is today's global reality. The international landscape is once again marked by rising tensions, political upheavals, and profound questions about security, sovereignty, and democratic. From Washington to Europe, from Sydney to Santiago, and from Hong Kong to Paris, several major developments are shaping global discourse and redefining power balances. 1. Trump intensifies pressure on Europe. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has reignited transatlantic tensions by launching a sharp and uncompromising critique of European allies, accusing them of failing to meet their defense obligations. In a series of statements, Trump argued that European countries continue to rely excessively on American military protection while underinvesting in their own security. He warned that, should Europe fail to significantly increase its military spending, particularly within the framework of NATO, the United States could respond with economic, diplomatic, and political retaliation. These comments echo Trump's long-standing position that alliances must be strictly transactional and that the U.S. should no longer subsidize the security of wealthy partners. European leaders responded firmly. Several officials emphasized that Europe's security decisions are a matter of sovereignty, not submission to external pressure. Calls have intensified within the European Union to accelerate the development of independent EU defense capabilities, reduce reliance on Washington, and strengthen strategic autonomy. While transatlantic cooperation remains officially intact, Trump's rhetoric has once again exposed deep fractures in the Western alliance. 2. Anti-Semitic terrorist attack in Sydney, Australia has been shaken by a violent anti-Semitic attack in Sydney, which authorities have formally classified as an act of terrorism. The incident targeted members of the Jewish community and has sparked widespread outrage across the country. Emergency services confirm multiple victims, with some sustaining serious injuries. Law enforcement officials move swiftly to neutralize the attacker, whose motives are being investigated but are already described as ideologically driven and rooted in anti-Semitic extremism. Political leaders across Australia condemned the attack unequivocally. The Prime Minister described it as an assault on the values of tolerance, diversity, and peaceful coexistence. Jewish organizations have called for stronger protection of religious institutions and tougher action against hate-driven extremism. The attack has reignited national debates over radicalization, online hate, and the need for stronger counterterrorism measures. 3. Mercosur trade agreement delayed in Europe. Tensions have emerged over the long-negotiated EU-Mercosur trade agreement, as France formally requested a postponement of the vote to ratify the deal. Paris cited serious concerns related to environmental protection, agricultural standards, and broader political tensions within the EU. French officials argue that the agreement in its current form could undermine European farmers and weaken environmental safeguards, particularly regarding deforestation in South America. However, several EU member states expressed frustration, insisting that the deal is strategically important for trade, geopolitical influence, and economic growth. The delay has exposed deep divisions within the European Union, balancing economic ambition against environmental responsibility and domestic political pressures. For now, the future of the Mercosur agreement remains uncertain, with negotiations likely to continue behind closed doors. 4. Russia-Ukraine. Signs of a possible agreement. In the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, new diplomatic signals have sparked cautious speculation about a possible path toward negotiations. Statements from intermediaries and indirect diplomatic channels suggest that both sides may be conditionally open to dialogue. However, the situation remains extremely fragile. Neither Moscow nor Kyiv has made concrete concessions, and military operations continue. Analysts warn that any talk of an agreement must be approached with caution, as past efforts have repeatedly collapsed under battlefield realities and political mistrust. Still, the emergence of diplomatic language, even tentative, has drawn international attention as global powers closely monitor whether this marks a genuine shift or merely a tactical pause in a prolonged conflict. 5. Chile elects a new president. José Antonio Cast. Chile has entered a new political chapter with the election of José Antonio Cast as president. Known for his conservative and right-wing political orientation, Cast's victory represents a significant shift in Chile's political direction after years of social unrest and constitutional debate. His supporters see him as a figure of order, economic stability, and national sovereignty. Critics, however, express concern about his positions on social issues, human rights, and the legacy of Chile's authoritarian past. Cast has promised to restore security, strengthen institutions, and revive economic growth while pledging respect for democratic processes. His presidency is expected to reshape Chile's domestic and foreign policies and may influence political trends across Latin America. 6. Jimmy Lai convicted in Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, pro-democracy activist and media tycoon Jimmy Lai has been found guilty of violating national security laws, a verdict that has sent shockwaves through the international community. Lai, the founder of a once prominent pro-democracy newspaper, is widely seen as a symbol of press freedom and resistance to Beijing's growing control over Hong Kong. His conviction is being described by human rights organizations as a major blow to freedom of expression and judicial independence in the territory. Western governments and press freedom advocates have condemned the ruling, warning that it further erodes the one country, two systems principle and accelerates the silencing of dissent in Hong Kong. 7. Strike at the Louvre Museum in France. Cultural life has been disrupted as employees of the Louvre Museum launched a strike over working conditions and management issues. Staff members cite concerns ranging from workload pressures to staffing shortages and internal governance. The strike has caused significant disruptions, limiting access to one of the world's most visited museums and frustrating tourists from around the globe. Union representatives argue that the situation reflects broader challenges facing cultural institutions, including underfunding and increasing demands. French authorities are under pressure to negotiate quickly, as the strike highlights the tension between cultural prestige and the realities faced by those who keep such institutions running. From rising geopolitical pressure and acts of terrorism to trade disputes, elections, and cultural protests, these developments underscore a world grappling with instability and transformation. Whether through diplomacy, elections, or social movements, nations are redefining their priorities in an increasingly fragmented global order, one where security, sovereignty, and democratic values are constantly being tested. As we conclude this edition of News Scope Daily TV, one message stands clear: the world is entering a phase of profound uncertainty and transformation. From shifting alliances and contested elections to attacks driven by hatred and the silencing of independent voices, today's events remind us that global stability cannot be taken for granted. The pressure on international institutions is growing, democratic values are under strain, and societies everywhere are being forced to confront difficult choices about security, freedom, and identity. Yet history also shows us that moments of crisis often open the door to reflection, resistance, and reform. Whether through diplomacy, civic action, cultural expression, or responsible leadership, the future remains shaped by the decisions made today. At Scope Daily TV, our mission is not only to inform, but to provide clarity, context, and perspective, so you can better understand the forces shaping our shared world. Thank you for watching, for trusting us, and for staying engaged with global affairs. If you found this report informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support independent, in-depth journalism. I'm glad you were with us. Until next time, stay informed, stay aware, and stay connected, only on Scope Daily TV.